Hey everybody, it's David Parks. I'm here at Max Watts playing with Periphery. Nice to see ya. The story of how I got this gig's pretty crazy. I sort of was just getting a coffee with my partner Ashlyn one morning, and I had a message from Troy Wright, and I was like, oh, what's Troy want? What's he bothering me for? I checked it out, and he's like, hey man, you free on these dates? And I was like, oh yeah, they look good to me. And then a minute later, I get a notification on Instagram, Matt Halpern has started following you. And I was like, oh, okay, that's pretty crazy. And then straight away I get a message from Matt. He's like, hey man, nice to meet you. Troy said you could fill in for Periphery on this tour. And I was like, oh, Periphery, sick. So I play in a couple of bands. I play in a band called I Built the Sky, which is like a progressive metal guitar-led band. I also play in a band called Wallet Inspector, which is more of like a technical death metal kind of vibe. Alongside that, I do a fair bit of session work. So at the moment, I'm playing with Dan Sultan as well. He's a bit more of a bluesy sort of artist. And in the past, I've done fill-ins for The Amity Affliction and Alpha Wolf and Pale Dusk, who's an awesome band from Japan that you should check out if you haven't already. Practicing for this was it was a little bit stressful, understandably. My main thing I do when I do session work is to sort of just start every song in some capacity. I find if I just focus too hard on one song, I start doing it and then I've learnt the song, but then I'm like, oh, there's all the rest of the set to learn. So what I did was each day I sort of worked on a different song, just to at least learn a few bars here and there. I had some transcriptions that I worked off because I really wanted it to be as accurate as possible. The main thing I wanted to do was sort of veer away from the transcriptions as soon as possible, just so I could really internalize it. So I spent a good couple of months working on this material. I was working on an electronic kit at first, and then once I was comfortable with the songs, I had them memorized, I moved to a full kit, this kit, which I'm playing here, and was just running the songs day after day. Did the set probably 2 or 3 times a day just to make sure I was dialed in and ready to go. So getting ready for this gig, I think one of the hardest things other than playing was actually psychologically. Just sort of the weight of filling in for Periphery was quite a bit, because I used to listen to them all the time when I was younger. The main thing I needed to do was just keep reminding myself that I've got it, that it's all going to be good. I just have to keep sort of just being confident in my ability to get the job done. Because it's easy to sort of just get overwhelmed and kind of think, oh, it's not going to work out. But as soon as I just kept a positive mindset, it all sort of followed. My journey to becoming a DW artist started a few years ago when I wasn't an artist at all, but I decided to order my dream drum kit, which was this kit right here, DW Collectors. I just thought of this for a while and I was like, oh, I could just always imagine this beautiful wood finish kit. And I was like, all right, I'm just gonna order it and just see what happens. So I put the order through, waited a while for it to come back, and it finally landed on the doorstep. Unboxed it and I was like, oh, this is ridiculous. This is something pretty special. So yeah, and I started sort of playing with it a bit, and then Danny Balderston, who is the beautiful artist relations here in Australia, he was like, oh, that's a sick kit that you've got. He was sort of like, oh, so why aren't you an artist? And I was like, oh, I just want to play the stuff that I want. I don't really worry about that kind of stuff. It's always just a bit of a bonus. He's like, oh, well, let's get something going. So I was like, oh, okay, yeah, sounds good to me. Come around here, let's have a look. All right, here's my DW Collector's drum kit. The finish is African Chen, which is an exotic finish. It's pretty gnarly, but for the wood, I've chosen to go with pure maple. The reason for this is I just wanted something that was super versatile, but still nice and warm and rounded. It's just such a versatile wood. I've also got re-rings inside each of the toms, and the bass drum as well, which just gives some added focus, which is really good for sort of the more proggier stuff that I like doing. In terms of the sizes I've got I've got a 10 by 7 rack tom, I've got a 12 by 8 rack tom, and then I've got a 14 by 14, which I'm not using on this tour, but on this tour I'm using the 16 by 16. The bass drum is a 22 by 16. I went 16, just a little bit shorter, just because I want that extra, that punch, a bit more of a tighter sound. And then I've got a matching snare, because I was like, oh, I mean, I got to have the matching snare for this. So that's a 14 by 6.5. That's a 10 ply snare. The ply on these shells, the rack toms are 6 ply, the 2 floor toms are 7 ply, and the bass drum is 7 ply as well. The re-rings are 3 ply altogether. So they're just, yeah, beautiful shells. They really sort of feel like they've got your back when you're playing. Like, that's just sort of the main feeling. Like, you feel really supported, like you can really lay into it. But the drums, like, they're just always going to sing when you're playing them. Let's have a bit of a chin wag about some hardware for a bit. So the pedals I'm using on this tour are the DW9000 pedals. I've got the XF version though, which is extended footboard. I've just sort of really liked, I've had these for a while to be honest, but I just really like the way they feel, a bit of extra room to wiggle around. So when you're doing faster stuff, you can kind of play a bit further down the pedal board. But if you want to do more sort of like powerful, stompy stuff, you can sit a bit more towards the middle or towards the top. In terms of the other hardware I'm using at the moment, I'm using 5000 hardware. I love the 9000 hardware, but the 5000 is just so good because it's a bit lighter, so when touring you're not going to break your back. But that being said, the 9000 stuff is incredible because it's just so durable and it won't fail on you. But I've got 3 boom stands here. I've got a straight stand for the china, and then I've got a few of the different clamps. So 2 here for the splashes and then 1 here for the stack. And then 5000 3-legged hi-hat stand. I set up my hi-hat stand a bit weirdly. I have sort of, I don't actually move the legs around or anything, which I know a lot of drummers are probably hating me right now for that, but it's just what I'm used to. So yeah, it's like tucking my little foot into a little cave underneath there. So pretty comfy, try it out sometime. So on the snare and kick, we're running a trigger on each for this tour as a means of gating and sort of blending samples as well. So we've got the Roland RT30H on the snare, and then on the kick we've got the RT30K on there. So my experience in this tour has been really lovely, honestly. I couldn't say enough kind things about Periphery. Like, they are just the nicest guys ever. They take the music seriously, but not too seriously. Like, the main thing they emphasize is having fun on stage and off stage as well. Like, they're always joking around, but they're just really inclusive, and it's just been a really, like, a huge pleasure to tour with them. Very grateful for the opportunity as well. But yeah, I've been having some of the most fun on stage I've ever had before, honestly. Like, it's just really cool just getting to mess around with these guys, and they're always sort of egging me on to try new things in the set. So during this tour, I've been sort of throwing in some extra things here and there, which has been fun. So it's always good to keep them on their toes as well, mix it up for everybody. So it's been awesome. Can't say enough good things. So for the rest of the year after this tour, I've got some shows booked with Dan Salton, which I'm really looking forward to. It'd be a great way to finish out the year, and it'll be nice playing just some 4/4, playing some pocket. It'd be great. He's always amazing to play with. He's got such a beautiful voice. So got some gigs with him, and then my band Wallet Inspector, we're planning on releasing our debut album, which is called Ephemeris. So that's going to be coming out hopefully at the end of this year. I've been looking forward to putting that out. So yeah, that's basically the rest of the year for me, and then we'll see what next year holds. My name's David Parks. I really appreciate you watching this video and finding out a bit about the drum kit, about the tour. If you have any questions about anything, feel free to reach out to me on Instagram. David Parks Drums is my Instagram handle. Just chuck us a message and we can nerd out about drums.